The neon-drenched streets of Nova Prime's Undercity pulsed with a rhythm all their own. Zack Ryder, Earth's most infamous freelance operative, leaned against the grimy wall of the Starfall Cantina, his weathered combat suit a stark contrast to the flashy outfits of the alien clientele. His reputation preceded him, the human who never failed a mission, the one they called the Phantom, for his unmatched stealth and combat skills. The job seemed straightforward enough: extract a high-value target from the clutches of the notorious Obsidian Syndicate. 10 million credits up front, another 15 upon completion. The client, a shadowy figure known only as the Benefactor, had been frustratingly vague on the details. But credits were credits, and Zack's account could use the boost. He took a long drag from his e-cig, the vapor temporarily obscuring his view of the Syndicate's hideout across the street. Intel suggested they were holding the target in their fortified compound, planning to auction them off to the highest bidder. The thought made Zack's blood boil. Freelancers had a code, and trafficking wasn't part of it. Straightening up, he checked his modified plasma rifle one last time. The weapon hummed with barely contained energy, a testament to human engineering superiority even in this age of advanced alien technology. Nothing quite matched the reliability and punch of human-made weapons. Time to crash their party, he muttered, activating his tactical visor. The heads-up display showed 20 heat signatures inside the compound. The target's unique biological signature was clear: they had them in the basement level. Zack approached the compound's main entrance, where 2 Syndicate guards stood watch, their obsidian armor gleaming menacingly in the artificial twilight. "This is your only warning," Zack announced, his voice carrying the weight of countless successful missions. "Release the target, and you all walk away breathing. Refuse, and I'll show you why humans are the most feared operatives in the galaxy." The guards laughed, their synthesized voices grating through their helmet speakers. "One human against all of us? You must be suicidal," the taller one sneered. Zack sighed. They never listened. They never learned. What followed was a symphony of destruction that would be talked about in Nova Prime's underworld for years to come. Zack moved like liquid lightning, his enhanced reflexes and natural human adaptability making him nearly impossible to track. The first 2 guards went down before they could raise their weapons. He breached the compound's entrance with a shaped charge, the explosion precisely calculated to disable rather than kill, another example of human precision. Inside, chaos erupted as Syndicate members scrambled to respond. "Last chance," Zack called out, his voice echoing through the compound. "The target walks free, or this gets really ugly." The answer came in the form of plasma bolts streaking through the smoke-filled air. Zack rolled behind a pillar, a grim smile playing on his lips. Have it your way. The next few minutes were a masterclass in human combat efficiency. Zack flowed through the compound like a force of nature, each movement precise and lethal. The Syndicate's advanced armor proved useless against his tactical genius and superior marksmanship. "What the hell is he?" one of them screamed before a stun round silenced him. "Just a human who gave you a fair warning," Zack muttered, stepping over the unconscious body. He reached the basement level, dispatching 3 more guards with practiced ease. The door to the holding cell was reinforced, still impressive by most standards but nothing special to someone trained in human military tactics. Inside, Zack froze. This was not what he had expected. Bound with energy restraints, a figure sat in the center of the room. But it wasn't some wealthy merchant or politician's offspring as he had assumed. Before him was an alien of breathtaking beauty, her iridescent skin shimmering even in the dim light. Delicate, feather-like appendages framed a face with eyes that seemed to hold the depths of the cosmos within them. "Your benefactor sent me," Zack said quickly, deactivating the restraints. "Let's get you out of here." "Behind you," she shouted. Zack spun, catching the Syndicate leader's vibroblade inches from his throat. The alien was massive, his armor more elaborate than his subordinates. "You should have listened to my warning," Zack said before executing a perfect counter that sent the leader crashing into the wall. The fight was brief but brutal, ending with the leader unconscious and Zack barely winded. As they emerged from the compound, the alien looked at her rescuer with newfound respect. "I've never seen anyone fight like that," she admitted, her melodic voice tinged with awe. Zack shrugged. "Just doing my job. Though I did warn them." "I am Zyra, Crown Princess of the Astral Dominion," she said, her eyes boring into Zack's. "And you, human, have just involved yourself in a galactic conflict beyond your imagination." Zack felt a headache coming on. This was why he hated vague job descriptions. "Your Highness," he said, the title feeling strange on his tongue, "with all due respect, I was hired to extract a target. Not to get caught up in alien politics." Zyra's eyes flashed dangerously. "You don't have a choice now, human. The Syndicate was merely a pawn in a much larger game. One that threatens not just my people, but yours as well." Before Zack could respond, the night sky lit up with the telltale flare of ships entering the atmosphere. "We've got company," he growled, grabbing Zyra's arm. "Time to move." As they raced through the Undercity's labyrinthine alleys, plasma bolts sizzling past them, Zack couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just become infinitely more complicated. The princess's words echoed in his mind: a galactic conflict, a threat to humanity. He had signed up for a simple extraction, not an intergalactic incident. But as he glanced at Zyra, her determination evident even as they fled, Zack knew he was already in too deep to back out now. "My ship's not far," he said as they ducked into a hidden alcove, the sounds of pursuit growing closer. "But you'd better start explaining, Your Highness. What exactly have I gotten myself into?" Zyra's cosmic eyes met his, a mixture of fear and resolve swirling within their depths. "A war, human. One that will determine the fate of every sentient species in the galaxy. And now, whether you like it or not, you're right in the middle of it." Zack allowed himself a rueful smile. It was shaping up to be one hell of a job. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a voice whispered that this alien princess might just be worth all the trouble she was about to bring into his life. As the sounds of their pursuers grew louder, Zack checked his weapon and steeled himself for the fight ahead. Whatever this galactic conflict was, whatever role he was about to play in it, one thing was certain: the galaxy was about to learn why humans had a reputation as the most resourceful and determined species in the cosmos. And Zack Ryder, the Phantom, was going to give them one hell of a demonstration. The sleek contours of Zack's ship, the Phantom's ghost, came into view as they rounded the corner of a dilapidated warehouse. Its matte black hull seemed to absorb the neon lights of Nova Prime's Undercity, a testament to its stealth capabilities. "Nice ride," Zyra commented, her melodic voice tinged with genuine admiration. "It'll do," Zack replied, his hand hovering over the biometric lock. The airlock hissed open, and he ushered the alien princess inside. "But I'd appreciate it if you'd start talking. What's this war you mentioned, and why are you at the center of it?" As the ship's engines hummed to life, Zyra settled into the co-pilot's seat, her iridescent skin reflecting the soft glow of the cockpit displays. "It's not just a war, human. It's the war. One that's been brewing for millennia, hidden from the younger races like yours." Zack's fingers danced across the controls, guiding the Phantom's ghost out of its concealed berth. "I have a name, you know. It's Zack. And I'm listening." The princess nodded, her feather-like appendages rippling with the movement. "Very well, Zack. What do you know of the Astral Dominion?" "Not much," he admitted, deftly maneuvering the ship through Nova Prime's crowded skyways. "Isolationist empire, technologically advanced, generally keep to themselves. Not the sort to get mixed up with the Obsidian Syndicate." Zyra's cosmic eyes darkened. "We had our reasons. The Dominion is old, Zack. Far older than humanity can comprehend. We've watched galaxies born and die, shepherded countless species to ascension. Ascension? Zack raised an eyebrow, his attention split between her words and the rapidly approaching upper atmosphere. Evolution beyond physical form. But that's not important right now. Zyra leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper despite their solitude. What matters is that we're not the only ancient race out there. And not all of them share our benevolence. Warning klaxons blared as the ship broke orbit, multiple contacts appearing on the tactical display. Looks like your friends caught up, Zack growled, his hands a blur over the controls. Might want to buckle up, Your Highness. This could get rough. The pursuing ships were sleek, predatory things, their hulls gleaming with a metallic sheen that seemed to devour light. The Void Heralds, Zyra breathed, fear evident in her voice. How did they find us so quickly? Questions later, Zack snapped, sending the Phantom's ghost into a series of evasive maneuvers that would have liquefied the organs of most species. Right now, I need to know what these things can do. Plasma bolts lanced past the viewport, their unnatural purple hue speaking of weaponry far beyond standard galactic tech. Zyra gripped her seat, her composure cracking. They're faster than anything you've encountered, armed with weapons that can tear through planetary crusts. And they won't stop until I'm either captured or dead. Lovely, Zack muttered, his mind racing through potential strategies. The Phantom's ghost was good, but it wasn't designed for prolonged dogfights against superior foes. They needed an edge, something unexpected. A warning tone sounded as one of the Void Herald ships locked on with a tractor beam. Zack felt the ship shudder as the energy field took hold. Any other surprises I should know about, he asked, a plan already forming. Zyra's eyes widened in realization. They're ships, they're partially organic. Linked directly to the pilot's neural networks. A savage grin spread across Zack's face. Now that, I can work with. His fingers flew over the controls, initiating a series of commands that made the ship's computer chirp in protest. You might want to close your eyes for this next part, Princess. It's about to get bright. Before Zyra could respond, Zack triggered the Phantom's ghost's secret weapon, a pulse of electromagnetic energy so intense it momentarily outshone nearby stars. The Void Herald ships reeled, their organic components writhing in silent agony. In that moment of confusion, Zack fired the main engines, pushing them well beyond safe limits. The sudden acceleration tore them free of the tractor beam, leaving their pursuers scrambling to recover. That was unexpected, Zyra managed, her voice a mixture of awe and nausea. Humans are good at unexpected, Zack replied, not taking his eyes off the rapidly receding Void Herald ships. It's kind of our thing. Now, care to finish that explanation? Who are these Void Heralds, and what do they want with you? Zyra took a deep breath, composing herself. They are our antithesis, Zack. Where the astral dominion seeks to nurture life, to guide it towards greater enlightenment, the Void Heralds wish to unmake creation itself. They believe that existence is a mistake, a cosmic error that must be corrected. And let me guess, Zack interjected, you're the key to stopping them somehow. The princess nodded solemnly. I carry within me the knowledge of an ancient weapon, one capable of sealing the Void Heralds away for another 1,000,000 years. But if they capture me, extract that knowledge. Then it's lights out for the rest of us, Zack finished. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his short-cropped hair. So, no pressure or anything. A moment of silence passed between them, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's engines. Finally, Zack spoke again, his voice tinged with resignation and a hint of excitement. All right, Your Highness. I'm in. Not like I have much choice at this point anyway. Where to? Relief flooded Zyra's features, her iridescent skin glowing with renewed hope. We need to reach the Temple of Cosmic Harmony on Elysium Prime. There, we can activate the weapon and end this threat once and for all. Zack nodded, already plotting the course in his mind. Elysium Prime it is. But fair warning, Princess, my rates go up substantially for saving the galaxy. Especially when murderous void entities are involved. A small smile played across Zyra's lips, the first Zack had seen since their meeting. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement, Zack. Assuming we survive, of course. Oh, we'll survive, Zack assured her, his confidence unwavering. Humans are annoyingly good at that too. Now, let's see just how fast this ship can go, shall we? As the Phantom's ghost leapt into faster-than-light travel, its occupants settled in for the journey ahead. Zack couldn't shake the feeling that this job was going to change everything, not just for him, but for the entire galaxy. And somewhere, in the vast emptiness between stars, the Void Heralds regrouped, their hunger for destruction growing with each passing moment. The Phantom's ghost dropped out of hyperspace with a shudder, the swirling vortex of faster-than-light travel giving way to the stark beauty of real space. Before them loomed Elysium Prime, a world of sweeping azure oceans and landmasses that shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence. Zack whistled low, impressed despite himself. Quite the view, Your Highness. I'm guessing this is home? Zyra nodded, her cosmic eyes fixed on the planet below. The heart of the astral dominion. Our last bastion against the encroaching void. Her voice carried a weight of sorrow that made Zack glance at her sharply. You're not telling me everything, he said, his tone more statement than question. The alien princess met his gaze, conflict evident in her features. There are complications, Zack. Things I couldn't risk saying while we were still in contested space. Warning klaxons blared before Zack could press further. The tactical display lit up with dozens of new contacts, emerging from Elysium Prime's shadow. Friends of yours? Zack asked, his hands already moving to defensive positions. Zyra's expression morphed from shock to dismay. They should be, but something's wrong. Those energy signatures, they're not right. The comm system crackled to life, a voice that sounded like grinding stone filling the cockpit. Greetings, little princess. Did you really think you could hide from us? Color drained from Zyra's face. No, it can't be. Father? Zack's eyes narrowed. I'm guessing that's not Daddy's usual warm welcome. The void, Zyra whispered, horror dawning in her eyes. They've already taken Elysium. We're too late. The voice continued, dripping with malevolent glee. Come home, daughter. Embrace the truth of existence. The end of all things awaits. Zack's mind raced, assessing options. The Phantom's ghost was good, but not good enough to take on an entire fleet. Any bright ideas, princess? Because our odds aren't looking great right now. Zyra seemed to shake herself from her stupor, determination replacing fear. We need to reach the surface. The Temple of Cosmic Harmony is our only hope now. You want to fly towards the homicidal Void Fleet? Zack asked incredulously. I knew I should have charged more for this job. Despite the dire situation, a small smile tugged at Zyra's lips. Afraid, human? Zack grinned back, a fierce light in his eyes. Nah. Just thinking about how to collect my fee after we save the universe. Hang on tight, Your Highness. This is gonna get sporty. With that, he sent the Phantom's ghost into a series of maneuvers that defied both physics and sanity. The ship corkscrewed through the oncoming fleet, plasma bolts and energy beams slicing through the space they'd occupied milliseconds before. Zyra gripped her seat, her knuckles pale against her iridescent skin. How are you doing this? She gasped as they narrowly avoided collision with a cruiser. Human reflexes, Zack replied, his focus absolute. We might not be the strongest or longest-lived species in the galaxy, but we've got our advantages. They plunged into Elysium's atmosphere, the ship's hull glowing cherry red with the heat of re-entry. Behind them, the void-corrupted fleet gave chase, their weapons turning the sky into a kaleidoscope of deadly energy. There. Zyra pointed to a massive structure that seemed to be composed of pure light, its spires reaching towards the heavens. The Temple of Cosmic Harmony. Zack angled the ship towards their destination, pushing the engines well beyond their design limits. I don't suppose this temple of yours has any defenses? Zyra's expression was grim. It was never meant to. The Astral Dominion has known only peace for millennia. Well, Zack muttered, there's a first time for everything. They set down hard in the temple's courtyard, the Phantom's ghosts landing struts groaning in protest. Zack was out of his seat in an instant, grabbing his plasma rifle and tossing Zyra a spare sidearm. I'm guessing you know how to use one of these? The princess caught the weapon with surprising dexterity. I'm a quick study. They disembarked into chaos. The once pristine temple was a battleground, corrupted Astral Dominion forces clashing with a handful of defenders. The air crackled with energy discharges and the acrid smell of ozone. This way! Zyra shouted, leading them towards the temple's central spire. The weapon is at the heart of the structure. They fought their way through twisting corridors of living crystal, each turn bringing new horrors. Zack had seen his share of combat, but the sight of Zyra's own people, twisted by the void into mocking parodies of their former selves, was enough to chill even his hardened soul. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, its walls adorned with swirling patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. At its center stood a pedestal, atop which floated a sphere of pure, radiant energy. The cosmic core, Zyra breathed, approaching the pedestal with reverence. With this, we can seal away the void for another age. Zack took up a defensive position by the entrance, his weapon at the ready. Better do it fast, princess. I don't think our new friends are going to wait much longer. Zyra placed her hands on the sphere, closing her eyes in concentration. The air around her began to shimmer, waves of power radiating outward. Zack felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up, his very atoms seeming to vibrate in sympathy. And then, everything went wrong. The sphere pulsed once, twice, and then shattered into a million glittering shards. Zyra stumbled back, confusion and horror etched on her face. No, this can't be. The prophecies. A slow clap echoed through the chamber. From the shadows emerged a figure that could only be Zyra's father, his once regal features now a mask of void-corrupted malice. Well done, daughter. You've played your part perfectly. Zack's weapon snapped up, trained on the newcomer. Want to fill me in, Your Highness? Because this is starting to feel an awful lot like a setup. Zyra's eyes darted between Zack and her father, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know. I swear, Zack, I didn't know. The corrupted king laughed, a sound like grinding glass. Of course you didn't. That was the beauty of it. The cosmic core was never meant to seal away the void. It was the key to unleashing it fully upon this reality. Understanding dawned on Zack, cold and merciless. The prophecy. The weapon. It was all a lie. Not a lie, the king corrected. A misdirection. One that has taken millennia to orchestrate. And now, thanks to my daughter's pure heart and your human tenacity, the end of all things is at hand. Zack's mind raced, searching for a way out. But as void energy began to coalesce around them, as reality itself seemed to fray at the edges, he realized that this might be one situation even human ingenuity couldn't overcome. The fate of the universe hung in the balance, and for the first time in his life, Zack Ryder, the infamous Phantom, was out of ideas. The chamber trembled as reality buckled under the onslaught of void energy. Zack's combat-honed instincts screamed at him to run, to find some way to escape the collapsing temple. But one look at Zyra's devastated face rooted him to the spot. Why? Zyra's voice cracked as she faced her father. Why would you do this? The corrupted king's laughter echoed off the crystal walls. Because existence is pain, my child. The void offers release, an end to the cycle of suffering that plagues all living things. Zack's grip tightened on his weapon. That's not your call to make, he growled. Not for her, not for me, and certainly not for every being in the galaxy. Ah, the human speaks, the king sneered. So full of defiance, even in the face of inevitability. Your kind always did amuse me. As void tendrils began to creep across the floor, Zack's mind raced. There had to be a way out, some angle he hadn't considered. Humans didn't believe in no-win scenarios. Zyra, he said, not taking his eyes off the corrupted king, you said the cosmic core was supposed to seal away the void. What exactly did that mean? The princess blinked, confusion momentarily replacing despair. It was meant to create a barrier, a wall between our reality and the void. A wall, Zack mused. Or a door. Understanding dawned in Zyra's cosmic eyes. You can't be serious. Even if we could reverse the flow, the power required would tear this place apart, Zack finished. But it beats the alternative, doesn't it? The king's amusement faded, replaced by a cold fury. Enough of this prattle. The end comes, whether you accept it or not. Void creatures began to materialize around them, twisted amalgamations of darkness given form. Zack raised his weapon, back to back with Zyra. I hope you really are a quick study with that sidearm, princess. Because things are about to get messy. What followed was a dance of destruction that pushed both human and alien to their limits. Zack's plasma rifle sang a staccato beat of defiance, each shot finding its mark with unerring precision. Beside him, Zyra proved her worth, her movements graceful even in the chaos of combat. But for every void creature they felled, two more took its place. They were being overwhelmed, pushed back towards the shattered remains of the cosmic core. Whatever you're planning, Zack shouted over the din of battle, now would be a good time. Zyra nodded, her face set in grim determination. She reached out, placing her hands on the fractured pedestal. Cover me. Zack didn't need to be told twice. He positioned himself between Zyra and the encroaching horde, his rifle a constant blur of motion. Any time now, Your Highness. The air around Zyra began to shimmer, waves of energy pulsing outward. The remaining shards of the cosmic core rose into the air, orbiting her like a miniature galaxy. The corrupted king's eyes widened in realization. No! Stop her! But it was too late. With a sound like reality itself tearing at the seams, a vortex of energy erupted from Zyra's position. Void creatures were sucked in, their unearthly shrieks cut short as they vanished into the maelstrom. Zack! Zyra's voice cut through the chaos. We have to go. Now. He didn't need to be told twice. Grabbing Zyra's hand, Zack sprinted for the exit, the temple crumbling around them. Behind them, the king's furious roars were swallowed by the growing vortex. They burst out into the courtyard, the phantom's ghost a welcome sight amidst the destruction. Zack practically threw Zyra into the cockpit before leaping in himself, his hands flying over the controls. The ship lifted off just as the temple collapsed in on itself, the vortex growing to consume everything in its path. Zack pushed the engines to their limit, the phantom's ghost streaking towards the upper atmosphere. Did it work? He asked, sparing a glance at Zyra. The princess's eyes were closed in concentration, her feather-like appendages quivering. I think so. The void is being drawn back, sealed away once more. She opened her eyes, meeting Zack's gaze. But at what cost? As if in answer, the tactical display lit up with new contacts. The void-corrupted fleet was in disarray, ships colliding or being drawn into the vortex that now dominated Elysium Prime's surface. We're not out of this yet, Zack muttered, plotting a course through the chaos. Void energy lashed out at them, tendrils of unreality seeking to drag them back. The Phantom's ghost shuddered under the assault, warning klaxons blaring. Hull integrity at 30%, the ship's computer announced dispassionately. Collision imminent. Zack gritted his teeth, pouring every ounce of his considerable skill into keeping them alive. Come on, baby. Just a little further. With a final, bone-jarring lurch, they broke free of Elysium Prime's gravity well. The vortex collapsed in on itself, taking the planet and the remaining fleet with it. In the space of a heartbeat, where once a thriving world had stood, there was nothing but empty void. Silence fell in the cockpit, broken only by the labored breathing of its occupants. Zack ran a hand through his sweat-soaked hair, the adrenaline high giving way to bone-deep exhaustion. Well, he said finally, I think I'm going to need a raise. Zyra let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. My people, my world, all of it, gone. Zack reached out, hesitating for a moment before placing a hand on her shoulder. Not all of it. You're still here. And something tells me this isn't over yet. The princess nodded, straightening in her seat. You're right. The void may be sealed for now, but its influence remains. There will be other worlds, other civilizations at risk. Sounds like a big job, Zack mused. Might need some help with that. Zyra turned to him, a spark of hope in her cosmic eyes. Are you offering your services, Zack Ryder? He grinned, the roguish charm that had made him infamous across the galaxy coming to the fore. Well, someone's got to keep you out of trouble, Your Highness. Besides, saving the universe has a nice ring to it. Might even look good on a resume. As the Phantom's ghost set course for the nearest starport, its unlikely crew contemplated the journey ahead. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But with human ingenuity and determination paired with the ancient wisdom of the astral dominion, perhaps there was hope yet. The war against the void was far from over. But for now, in the quiet of the cockpit, a human mercenary and an alien princess found a moment of peace. And sometimes, Zack reflected, that was victory enough. The bustling spaceport of Nexus Station hummed with activity, a crossroads of species and cultures from across the galaxy. Amidst the chaos, the Phantom's ghost stood out, its sleek black hull bearing the scars of recent battles. Inside the ship's hold, Zack Ryder ran a diagnostic on his plasma rifle, the weapon disassembled on a makeshift workbench. Nearby, Princess Zyra pored over star charts, her feather-like appendages twitching with concentration. Any luck? Zack asked, not looking up from his work. Zyra sighed, pushing a holographic display aside. Perhaps. There are whispers of void activity in the Omega cluster. It's not much, but it's a start. 3 standard months had passed since the fall of Elysium Prime. 3 months of chasing rumors, battling pockets of void corruption, and slowly coming to terms with the new reality they faced. The galaxy was changing, and they were at the forefront of that change. Zack reassembled his rifle with practiced ease, the weapon humming to life. The Omega cluster, huh? Not exactly a vacation spot. Having second thoughts? Zyra asked, a hint of challenge in her voice. He grinned, holstering the weapon. Not a chance, Your Highness. I'm just wondering if we should stock up on the good whiskey before we go. Might be hard to find in the ass end of nowhere. Their banter was interrupted by a priority alert on the ship's comm system. Zack frowned, activating the holographic display. The flickering image of an Arcturian diplomat materialized before them. Phantom, the diplomat said, using Zack's old call sign. We have a situation that requires your unique skill set. Zack raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. A research station in the Veil Nebula has gone dark. Our last transmission indicated they were on the verge of a breakthrough in void containment technology. Zyra stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. And now you fear the worst. The diplomat nodded grimly. If the station has fallen to void corruption, the consequences could be catastrophic. We need you to investigate, and if necessary, neutralize the threat. Zack exchanged a look with Zyra. This was bigger than their usual operations, with potentially galaxy-wide ramifications. Understood, he said finally. Send us the coordinates. We'll handle it. As the transmission ended, Zyra placed a hand on Zack's arm. You realize what this means, don't you? If they truly have developed new containment technology, then we might have a real shot at pushing back the void for good, Zack finished. He ran a hand through his hair, a habit he'd developed when deep in thought. It's a big risk, though. If things go sideways, we could end up unleashing something we can't control. Zyra's cosmic eyes met his, determination evident in their depths. Since when has that ever stopped you, Zack Ryder? He laughed, the sound echoing through the ship's hold. Fair point, Your Highness. All right then, let's go save the galaxy. Again. As they prepared for departure, Zack couldn't help but reflect on the strange turns his life had taken. From a cynical mercenary out for his next payday to a defender of all existence, partnered with an alien princess with powers he still didn't fully understand. It wasn't the life he'd ever imagined for himself, but he wouldn't trade it for anything. The Phantom's ghost lifted off from Nexus Station, its engines a low hum of contained power. As they broke atmosphere and set course for the Veil Nebula, Zack felt a familiar thrill of anticipation. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever cosmic horrors they might face, he knew one thing for certain: humanity would not go quietly into the night. Hey, Zyra, he called out as they prepared for the jump to hyperspace. When this is all over, remind me to introduce you to some classic Earth entertainment. There's this old movie series you might appreciate. Something about wars in the stars. Zyra's melodic laughter filled the cockpit, a sound that never failed to lift Zack's spirits. As the stars blurred into streaks of light around them, he allowed himself a moment of optimism. The road ahead was long and fraught with danger, but with human ingenuity and the ancient wisdom of the astral dominion on their side, perhaps there was hope yet for the galaxy. The void may be patient, may be eternal, but it had never faced the combined stubbornness of humanity and the resilience of those who chose to stand against the darkness. And as long as there were stars in the sky and breath in his lungs, Zack Ryder, the Phantom, would keep fighting. After all, someone had to make sure the universe stayed intact long enough for him to collect his fee. And if saving all of existence was part of the job description, well, that was just another day at the office for the galaxy's most unlikely heroes. As the Phantom's ghost vanished into hyperspace, carrying its intrepid crew towards their next adventure, one thing was certain: the legend of the human who stood against the void was only just beginning. The end.